Anyway, so tell me, how did you meet? How did you get to know each other? Kayo ni FVR.
Well, FBR, he was a former PC chief and he used to travel a lot around the country before, and that's the chance I met. I'm from Negros, so that's a chance I met him. But I become very active with him when I ran for president.
Kampanya.
Yes, the Lakas Tao and people, the the Lakas Tao, that was the organization. And then, of course, I was with Raul Manglapos,
With the
UMDP. So that's
Oh,
all of those merged together. Really work hard.
so may ideological band kayo, sir? Ganun
In
ba
a
yun?
way,
Because-
yeah, it's not just because of he was president. We're looking for somebody that we hope that can really marshal and organize and lift this country into what we want this country to be. And you understand, if I come from Raul Manglapos, Raul has always been envision a society that is provides social justice and equality to all. And to do that, you need a leader. And FBR was the personality that emerged among the many others that we thought we can work with. And that's how the background behind. And we worked so hard, campaign, and then of course the rest is history.
Talaga. But he wasn't exactly that popular candidate, di ba? I mean, he actually lost. Di ba?
Actually, in the convention,
primary, di ba?
in the convention, yes,
Oh,
yeah.
oh.
But we know that he has the character. He was not a traditional politician, and we're really looking for somebody that is not a traditional. And in a way, he was the right person at the right time. We thought that we can work with. And it was quite a challenge, because most of it voluntarism is up against traditional parties. But I think we're able to mobilize and work together with so many groups that also believe on the same thing, and FBR becomes a beneficiary and ended up as President of the Republic.
What about he was one of the chief implementers of martial rule of
Yes,
the former president. Was that an obstacle? Did that bother you as a Christian Democrat?
earlier than that, my friends were working with him during the even earlier during the EDSA. It's a period they were working with him already, and they were telling us that FBR is not really the way it was pictured. His character, as in the way martial law was portrayed and the role he played. He was a soldier, and he followed. I think he followed lawful order. That's the role that he played. But at the same time, you need somebody that has the courage, the intensity, and the commitment really to make a difference. I think FBR, he was not a very colorful speaker.
Yeah, I'll ask you about that.
He was not very colorful. Actually, FBR becomes a good speaker after his presidency. Before he was president,
Oh, nga, that was a challenge because
he was a dull speaker.
monotonous.
Oh,
very dry,
yeah.
di ba?
But if you look at it, he turned out really good after his presidency, Toby. You remember? Now you notice that he cracks joke, he's more relaxed, but during the campaign and even during his presidency, he was too serious.
Some say actually that there was a transition that happened in the course of the presidential campaign, that that was when the transformation happened from dry, stiff military,
Yeah, military. Yeah.
colorless person to
Always giving
some
instruction.
sa-
Yes.
to some
I
savvy-
think his interaction with the people, and he saw the warmth and real excitement of the people to work with him, and I think it touched on him, and he started to rub off that sort of fix and disciplinarian stature as you can find in the military, and started to open up. And I think he was one of those candidates that will reach out to everybody, including those who protested into the streets. We like to talk and reach out to them, and in a way, it educated him. I think it's not. It's a process. I would say that earlier he was not like that, but I think his interaction with the people and finding out that there's also much to learn from the people, rather than always the leaders giving instructions to the people. You learn a lot from them.
Oh, actually, binaliktad niya. No? I mean, generally, military man, very comfortable with giving orders, but Ramos was not exactly of that mold. He actually went out, reached out, and worked with consensus.
I think our group worked on the principle, and is one of his major platform, people empowerment. He embraced that people empowerment. He embraced the idea of Philippine 2000. He embraced the idea of People's 2000. So it's in a certain way, he would like to develop a popular movement based on the support and strength of the people. And I think that was the interaction that FVR learned along the way, and made him more relaxed, easily can be reached out among the people.
But walk me through briefly the process that NUCD, UMDP did in why eventually settling for Fidel Ramos.
Well, some of the guys who were very active into that are not around anymore. But one thing, at the time, Raul Manglapos was, I think, rooting for somebody else. But ultimately, we sat down with him. I think Ramos was a character to be the kind of leader that this country will need, and also will imbibe the values that we talk about.
So you were part of the group that...
Yes, I'm a part of that core group of Raul Manglapos.
And you urged him to reconsider?
Yes. Ultimately. We asked because Raul was rooting for somebody in the beginning. But ultimately, we worked with him, convinced Raul, and of course, it's not only convinced, creates activities that Raul and FVR had a chance to be together. And besides, FVR has no party.
Yeah.
FVR has no party. Lakas Tao is not a party.
It was like
So in
more a
UCD,
movement.
in UCD, UMDP was the party. So,
and it became the vehicle.
And the party also needs a candidate. So FVR, I think it's just perfect timing. Everybody comes at the right place at the right time. Of course, at the same time, carrying the values that Christian democracy had always been espousing. And I think when FVR became president, he really carried and promote the values of Christian democracy.
But tell me about the campaign, sir. I mean, it's not exactly bed of roses. I mean, you were matched up against some very well organized and well entrenched machinery.
It is a people's movement, volunteerism. I remember I'm with another good friend. We're Advanced Party. That's all there is to it, Advanced Party. We don't have the resources. But I think along the way, FVR come at the right place at the right time. It's just like I think the present phenomenon of the present president, that at a certain point of time, I was able to animate the whole country. And of course, FVR, there's so many candidates running at the same time.
You had Speaker Mitra, Ambassador Cojuangco, Mrs. Marcos, Salonga,
everybody else.
Laurel, and Senator Miriam.
Everybody else.
Oh.
So he squeezed through with so many people, they had a better chance of making it.
Ano yun, you focused on him talaga how did you pitch him as
No,
he's an alternative, ganun ba?
I think basically for us in the Raul Manglapos mold, we're looking really somebody that is not a traditional politician, that we hope can carry the values that we've been fighting for.
So ito yun,
And
alternative.
while FBR is at that moment stiff, something like that. I mean, his background, all his life is a military man, but he accepted the values. I think that's the most important thing. Accept the values and believe, and I think the people empowerment is one of the things that he stood up and fight for, and reaching out to everybody else that the only way you can have this country move forward is to unite, and that formula works before, it still works now.
My understanding is also that he was a workhorse, no? I mean, he was a consummate
That's an understatement to be that he's a workhorse. There was a time I thought I have a burnout.
Talaga. I mean, tell me about it.
No, I was the DOTC, Department of Transportation Communication. We presided the deregulation of transportation and communication.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, and many other infrastructure projects started there. And, early morning, let's say when you get to the office, there's already that note, marginal note on the side for you, no later than. Out of the papers that you send to Malacanang, they made a response and then we'll write back in LT, no later than.
Yeah.
And I remember that the earliest we go home is 10 o'clock in the evening. That's the earliest we...
During his
presidency, with FBR sending those notes early morning to every departments of the government. And that one of the things that I think had made a difference and made a success out of his presidency is that he brought the government to the people. You know what I mean? The cabinet meeting was on the countryside.
Yeah, no, the out of town cabinet meetings.
You bring the government to the people. You brought the cabinet. I think that's one of the most important feature that made the difference. Let's say the schedule is cabinet meeting in Bungao, in Tawi-Tawi. Bungao.
South.
Yeah. So that's Tuesday. By Monday morning, you are spread out. My assignment was in the Basilan area. You address what are that needs to be attended to in the standpoint of transportation and communication, and act on it immediately and make a report the next day, Tuesday. So right there and then, with the cabinet members out into the field.
Hindi lang bisita ito, as in day
No, you
before,
have to act. You
day
have to
or
act.
two before.
If everybody is even given by PMS already a briefing material about what needs to be done, what are the issues in that particular area. And if it concerns your department, you have to act on it. And then make a report. You don't have to say that you don't just go in a meeting and make a report, but you have to act on it. And then on Tuesday, you make a report what you have done.
Action taken na kaagad.
So automatic things are moving.
Oo.
I mean, and it happened all over the country. We were having cabinet meeting in the Bundok Peninsula, everywhere. And it is very trying and taxing for people of age. I've seen some of the cabinet members who are already in their senior citizenship, and the rigors of the travel and going to many places.
Yeah, he brought that.
I think that's the most important feature. One of the things that made his presidency successful, he brought the government to the people by having cabinet meetings in the countryside.
All over the place. It was a novelty, because before, Malacanang lang talaga. I mean, in the capital lang talaga yung...
Every time you go out and having this out-of-town cabinet meeting, you ride on this Vietnam vintage Huey.
The Hueys. Did you have these close calls?
Several times, several times. At one time, the cabinet meeting was in Puerto Princesa. Can you imagine? But you pass through Mimarupa because that's your assignment. You ride in that UE helicopter, and
But they were supposed to be flying coffins, sir.
Toby, that UE helicopter has killed more generals and colonels than the NPA. Really, on record, they have killed more generals. Crashes that occurred.
Yeah.
And me, with all my tapang, we climbed Mount Everest and we sailed almost the 7 seas. You don't get scared, but I'll tell you, the moment I saw that, the moment we learned that we're gonna take that helicopter, it gives you really the kind of jitters,
That gets you worried,
at
the least.
And then during the cabinet meeting, everybody will make a remark about the travel was quite exciting because everybody, how do you call it? Like, for example, going to Puerto Princesa, we almost ran out of fuel in Coron because flying against a headwind.
Yeah.
It's really a headwind, strong wind.
Yes.
And then I think the group of Bobby de Ocampo having a forced landing somewhere in Simirara. So everybody, I think it was quite a great luck that nothing happened in any of those cabinet teams that ride on that Hue helicopter. But that was the feature. You do that every week.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, riding on that Hue helicopter. And everybody makes report, and FVR just have his cigar on the other side and then keeps on riding. And
But he would ride in them also, right?
the same.
Yeah.
The same. I think we're just lucky, so to speak.
Yeah, not there
Not,
were
no incident, no
yeah,
incident.
Yeah. Oh,
And all those years,
there were a few close calls, but
no incident.
the journey itself was a story all its own.
The journey itself is quite a challenge and exciting. There are a lot of exciting things already, but the travel itself tells a lot of excitement.
So there's excitement in the journey. There's a lot of work waiting for you when you do land.
I think the out of town cabinet meeting is one of the most important things. Of course, there's the LIDAC about to hasten the passage of laws.
How did you get the appointment, by the way? I mean, so he won already.
I'm with a group of Raul Manglapos in UCD.
Okay, so
I think we were with the Department of Transportation and Communication.
But you did have some background in so far as transportation.
I'm in transportation in the sugar industry. That's my background in transportation.
So time and motion, logistics, and everything.
Yeah,
so you were in your group actually when you were appointed. How did you get the draft? How did he appoint you?
I think the DOTC at the time is the biggest department. Because it includes communication, transportation and communication. That was the biggest.
Yeah.
And so there are about 27 agencies.
Oh, wow.
And attached and sectoral agencies, 27, 29. Practically all the front organizations delivering services, LTO, the TFRB, Port Authority, the airport. These are all the OTC. But I think basically we're all, there's somebody carrying the baton and giving the direction and cracking the whip that this is the direction that we have to do. And I think the most important thing that I note is that what really the country needs a leader with an idea where to go, a vision. People's 2000, Philippine 2000, that is where he wants to go, and he cracks the whip for the rest of the bureaucracy to move on that direction.
Ito yung sa una pa lang talaga, nakita mo nang may roadmap siya, no?
Oh, you really need a roadmap. And in the roadmap, it talks about to achieve that, you must have peace. That's why he went out and seek peace among all the combatants.
So,
You remember that? Seeking
NPA,
peace with the military
RAM,
rebels, with the
MNLF.
MNLF, and everybody else, because without that, you have to unify the nation. I think that's what he was trying to do. Even all his rivals, he went to seek and sit down with them.
I guess also because he was it was a plurality vote, ano? I mean, and eventually he said we have to bring in the majority or everyone under.
But basically, I think part of his background, he's an engineer. As an engineer, you constructing a house, you have to put all the basics and the proper structures before you have to really build a house. And I think that's how he looked at the Philippines, like really constructing a very solid foundation for a really a formidable house.
He brought along that kind of thinking, ano? Building, no? You need to build.
I think that's the kind of discipline that he has with him all the time, before until now. He's a builder, so to speak. Because an engineer is a builder.
And a very good manager also. No? You mentioned LEDAC, ano? And again, I guess that's also, no, that also brings to fore that unlike, a regular military officer who just gives out orders, he was one who wanted to learn or consult everyone else first, ano?
Build a consensus. I think that's what he was trying to do. And then know exactly the role of the other constitutional bodies like Congress. That the power of the purse is with Congress. Laws has to be crafted for him to execute. And he worked closely with the lower house and the Senate. And I think they come out with hundreds of reform laws. And it showed. It showed all the time. But all of it, Toby, I think it is a leader that aims to unify the nation and build a team. So it's always Team Philippines, because one faction cannot do it. Build Team Philippines.
Everybody kailangan all in.
And that is what is really until now is needed. We have to build a team. You have to build, and he has been he was really pursuing that up to the last days of his presidency. For me, as I said, all I want at a certain point of time, I thought that this is not fun anymore. I mean, working so hard, you barely have time. But the only consolation that you have is that you're contributing.
What were your days like? I mean, what time would you start and what time would you end?
I said, the earliest I go home is 10 o'clock in the evening.
Oh, wow.
No, the earliest, especially the OTC, the earliest I go home is 10 o'clock. But we're able to do a lot of things all at the same time. And you bring in a lot of people, very talented, and because of the direction that is established, then the role that your department has to accomplish to fit into the bigger game. So it was.
So the let me get back to the ideology of people empowerment, and then providing the roadmap for the country, which was, as you mentioned, Philippines 2000. A big chunk of getting that done was really liberalizing and breaking up all these monopolies and as you mentioned it,
DOTC
transportation and communication
is at
were
the forefront.
two of the, di ba, the largest sectors na talagang sakul dun sa...
Doon talaga, doon kami. We're at the forefront in that deregulation.
Telecommunications lang, di ba?
Talaga doon, as a matter of fact,
transportation.
in the initial days, definitely other people have been used to lord it over. The fledgling companies emerging, they come to the office and said, we're having a tough time trying to build up and organize ourselves and strengthen ourselves. Our traditional the traditional operators would not give us an elbow room or an inch that we can really grow. And I told them straight, no, the administration of President Ramos is committed to the regulation. We'll do what it takes for you to succeed. And you can see that right now, especially on the aviation sector.
Yeah. Tell me about saan ka ba where did you saan ka pina-focus ni FVR, which particular sector or subsector? I'm sorry.
It depends upon, because at the same time I was chief of staff, undersecretary and chief of staff.
Oh,
So you can just imagine.
Sino ba DOTC? Garcia.
Tapos si Lagdomeo, si Really, si Lichauco. Ang dami nun. I worked in mga 7 secretaries And so one of the things that at a certain time I was assigned on Undersecretary for Maritime Affairs. And
so shipping and the
yes,
ports.
And how, because from there on, the Philippines is an archipelagic state.
Yes.
It is really a maritime nation. The real wealth lies on our maritime domain. But the focus of policymakers are mostly on land.
Yeah.
And mostly on land. So what happened then was that we put together a program, and one of the things that we succeeded in doing, which President Ramos really approved and got committed, is the transfer of the Coast Guard to the DOTC. I presided that campaign, the transfer, and that's how
from the military,
the Navy, and that's how the Coast Guard is able to quickly modernize. So I'm doing all sorts of jobs at that time. Although Maritimes then at the same time got also involved in rail. I mean, practically I did a lot of work because as chief of staff you also cover many other works.
Yeah, right. And then I guess coordinating also with the legislative,
But I think there was really the LEDAC had accomplished that. The LEDAC, the close coordination between the executive and the Congress has really had helped a lot.
Some of the other cabinet officers actually told us that it was a very good tool for fleshing out issues and differences, so that by the time it's sent or it's worked on officially in the House and in the Senate, planchado na.
Actually, yung dalawa yan yung LEDAC and out-of-town cabinet meeting. Those are important features of governance. LEDAC hastened the passage of reform laws. The out-of-town cabinet meeting, you bring the people to the countryside, learn from them at the same time, to be able and craft new laws to assist them. So those are the major features, if I can remember, aside from FVR as a leader, that he was I would call a unifying leader and a builder.
Tell me about some of the major challenges when you tried to break up the monopolies. I'm thinking.
Well, they make life difficult to their competitors. That's why the traditional operators make life difficult to newcomers. So the newcomers come to us for support and commitment that the program of deregulation is not how do you call it? It's not only by publicity, but it's really for real. And I think if you have to look at it, the breakup of communication. Well, at the time, the country was divided into many service areas.
Yes, yes.
That was the model, and then ultimately ended up again to two
Just
major
two
entities.
major entities. But, well, we started out with just one. It was all controlled by just one monopoly.
So,
And then we brought in so many.
yeah, because by law, the regulation was by law, so it simply opened up. They were dragging their feet. Those are a normal thing. Making the problem of interconnection.
Yes.
In all of those things,
And they use that.
making it really difficult. Well, until now, there's still some problems with the dominant and the other. But I think the role of government is really to strictly enforce it. That is the role of government.
Siya yung bastonador.
Oo. Talagang yun ang kuha ng gobyerno eh. Now, if the government have second thought of being a bastonero, then these things would not have succeeded. But kami, this is President Ramos' instruction to deregulate the transportation and communication industry.
Doon sa transportation, which one was that? Aviation, particular.
No, lalo Philippine Airlines and Cebu Pacific.
Oh. And eventually we saw
And many
the
other.
onset of new, while they were smaller.
Yeah. Air Philippines.
Yeah.
But of course, process of consolidation. Grand Air.
Yeah.
There were quite several that came out. Air Mindanao. Air Mindanao.
Which opened up choices to the consumers.
The competition is always good. Monopoly is not it's not healthy for the economy. You need competition.
You knew that FVR had your back. No? Kasi hindi ka rin naman ganun ka, di ba? You wouldn't have been that strict, you wouldn't have been that tough in pushing through with, breaking up all these monopolies and,
DOTC, yes.
di ba? Because you knew FVR was behind you.
Oh yeah, because it is a campaign platform to deregulate the industries. So we're just simply implementing it. And of course, you cannot cover everything, but if you're zealous in enforcing that vision, then, but I cannot remember that we have to go back to him to seek for help. We're just able to push through.
Well, that he met with you guys nearly every week was already an indicator of how important that.
I think yes, as I said, one thing I've seen that the bureaucracy started to move, because you need somebody that carries the baton, and not only that, he had brought with him many other people that are really highly qualified and committed on the same vision that he was espousing. All of us, I think, were together because it's Team Philippines. It's really building a team. That's one of the mantra that he keeps on repeating. We need to have a team. This cannot be done by one person. It has to be a team.
Tell me about cabinet life. I mean, so was it the same way? I mean,
I was a sub-cabinet. I'm not a full cabinet member. But we were the workhorse.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were the workhorse. Now, as I said, the earliest you go home, 10 o'clock, actually 12 o'clock. But the only thing is because you're physically fit, you'll be able to sustain the pressure and the hectic schedule.
Ikaw ba nakatikim ka rin nung ano?
Sigawan.
Yeah.
Normal lang yan.
Talaga?
So, normal lang yan. Siyempre, you know, at times, he also run out of patience, especially if will not be able to deliver on time.
He was always no? He was always...
No, he's always... the military discipline in him has always been... It's always there all the time. It's always there all the time. But not the... Hindi naman every time because we try to do our job as hard as we can.
Stricto ba? But from your experience?
Yeah. Better when he gives you an assignment, doesn't forget. That's one thing for sure. If ever one thing with FVR, he doesn't forget. He has the memory of an elephant.
Terrific.
Even until now.
Oo nga.
Even until now, he can remember dates, he can remember person. At he beat us. You know. No, but this is one thing, Toby, when I watch him work, even when he was not president anymore, you remember he keeps on clipping news, cutting news, monitoring daily, and then clipping all of this news and put them into one subject. Then I learned, you know, because of that, it is the power of information.
Okay.
FVR has, I told him, sir, now I know your secret. It is the power of information. You remember that he was called to the Senate and somebody walked out because FVR was there complete with all his information and data. Because he has that in his fingertips. At any given time, what subject, what year, the filing system that he has is really excellent. That at any time he just goes back to that, then the background information, what has been said in the media and even among columnists. So basically, FVR is an information guy.
Plus the memory of an elephant.
And plus the memory of an elephant. So I told him, sir, now I know your secret. Because until now, he's still doing that. But at this age, it also makes his mind very active.
Yeah, yeah.
So, unlike some people that reaching that age started to be forgetful, not him.
Talas pa rin, ano?
No, sobra. Unbelievable. But because all the time, active, ang mental faculties niya, active eh. He still writes. I think that's a secret. That's a secret that when you reach that advanced age, just keep yourself mentally active. But basically, FVR has the tool of information at his command.
Being an intelligence man when he was in the military, you know.
Yun ang grabe talaga. Yun ang nakita ko. Nobody can beat him. Here, when you discuss and suddenly you look at that, see the background behind it, then that particular subject tells everything what needs to be remembered, to be known. So he has that at his fingertips. Formidable nga. No, VR is very scanty in making compliment. You can hardly
Matipid.
hear. No, wala yung matipid. I cannot even remember that, you know. Of course, it talks about generic Team Philippines. Kaya natin ito. Ito magagawa lang natin kung talagang magtulong-tulungan. Bisig, kaya natin ito. When we succeeded, because we did it together. But it's not so much because of personalities. And very scanty. That he will tell you that you did a great job.
Ilocano.
He did it in some other ways. But there's one thing. I just recently that finally I received some compliment. You know, we're crossing. You know, I have my last adventure was the Balangay going to China, and you know you cross the South China Sea in that kind of boat. And so one time, before I left, sir, we would like to invite you for our departure. And then ultimately, when we parted, they said, "Ang tapang nyo." You know, coming from him and then giving a compliment of that we have the courage and the fortitude to cross this great bodies of water is so.
You took it as ano,
Yeah, it's really
a badge of ano.
Sir, ang tapang nyo.
Although my understanding also from some other cabinet officials was that pagka kinagalitan ka ni FVR, badge na rin daw yun.
Normal lang yan.
Kasi nasa radar ka niya.
No, yung actually, you've noticed it. Sa FVR, ang unang mga sinisigawan niya dyan, yung mga people close to him, mamaya na kayo yan. But yung mga other people yung mga bagito dyan o mga ganito, alam mo na yun. Huwag mo na kayo dito, malis mo na kayo doon. Normal lang yan. I mean, because he's quite familiar and comfortable with you.
Yeah.
Comfortable with you. Ganun yun. Pag sabi ni boss, sibat muna tayo dito. Huwag muna tayo manggulo daw dito. Yun. So,
he liked working with teams. And yun nga, no? Battle cry was Team Philippines 2000. But even within the cabinet, di ba? He created that teamwork. Spirit. Ano?
Team spirit.
Walang...
Automatic pag may mga...
Walang divas.
Wala. Automatic pag may mga... anong tawag nito? May conflict. He will right there and then. Hindi pang debate. You better settle that. Automatic lang yan. So because you have to build a team.
The other thing I've heard is that he never wanted, yun nga, no? Taking off from what you just said, ano? He didn't like people arguing in media.
Especially. No? Especially you resolve it behind closed door and settle it among yourself. Right away, he will call you and you settle it and give you a peace of mind. A peace of mind. You don't bring it out because you can resolve it within. I think part of he is how do you call it, calibrated.
In response.
Calibrated in his pronouncement. He's not the flowery kind of guy, like an orator. No, he's not the type. So you notice during the campaign and during his presidency, at times you get sleepy with the monotone, But he becomes quite, this is what I told some of my friends. You listen to FBR after he become president. You listen to him, you'll get entertained and you'll enjoy listening to him. Because now cracks joke and all of that, isn't it, sister? After his presidency, he becomes more relaxed. But during the campaign, during his presidency, it is at times it's a monotone of a military guy giving instructions.
Although I remember during, for example, in foreign visits, with the Filipino community, he was very engaged.
No, very engaged, and I'll tell you. No, it's very accommodating.
Or even during the out of town, may assemblies, di ba? With the local residents,
He'll go out. I think there was a time that there was an event. I don't know, was it at PICC that there was a big demonstration against him. He set aside his security guard and he went to see directly the demonstrators. I think it becomes more at home and dealing with everybody, even among his critic.
I think that was APEC.
APEC, tama yun, APEC yung, tama, sa APEC yun. There's an event at PICC, and there's a demo of a group of people denouncing, etc., etc. So, he went there and talked to them.
He wasn't afraid to engage, and roll with the punches, even with the some of his severest critics, columnists.
I think that's that exudes confidence. And besides, you have to talk to everybody. Even somebody you don't like his face, you have to talk to him, because by talking, you might be able to learn from him, and he'll be able to also learn from you. And that's how you build bridges, by talking. And that's what he's been doing. I think it's primarily influenced by being a soldier. Because the soldier are the first to die. If we can just make something by talking without shooting each other,
No one dies.
then no one dies. We all become, we're winners. So I think that's a product of his experience that if we're only able to talk to these people, then we would not have seen this kind of misery and death around us.
You, to this day, tell me how his brand of public service influenced you and infected you, your organization.
I think, Toby, I think basically, there must be a leader that will be able to rally the people together.
Okay.
Of course, because of his military background, he was seen as somebody as a horseman. As a horseman is a military guy, but he was able to, while he was a military guy, he was trying to really to shed off his military bearing and be just like any one of us. That's what he was really trying to do. But more than anything else, for this country to move forward, you need a leader with a vision, a leader that can put together a team and can craft the means to achieve that. That's the only way for this country to move forward. I think FVR was able to accomplish that. He simply didn't have the time.
Ayun nga, I was going to ask, was there enough time to do
No way.
everything?
There was not enough time. He simply didn't have enough time to. It was just starting.
He had 6
You know,
years.
Yeah, if you have to look at how other countries have really emerged and developed and reached its full heights because they have all the time to develop. Unlike the Philippines, too short for a good president, too long for a bad one. So systemic, there's something wrong.
There were attempts actually to amend the Constitution, if you remember. No? Sometime 96, 97, yun to amend the Constitution. People's Initiative and PIRMA, if you remember. Were you involved with that?
My friends were very much involved in it. I was too busy in the bureaucracy.
But would it have helped him? Because he eventually decided na wag na eh.
No, because to have continuity, you need really to, you have to amend the Constitution in terms of term limits.
Isang term lang talaga.
Oo, isang term lang yan eh. So, if that was amended, it could have allowed him to continue. But there was no amendment to the effect. So nothing happened. So after all of the momentum of Philippine 2000, after that, then back to business as usual in the running of Philippine affairs. At the time, I was, during the Philippine 2000, I was very much involved in crafting the Philippines as a transshipment, transloading hub, because maritime. So, trying to envision the Philippines how it is by the next millennium, that should have been, and until now. Basically, all of this, building nations, you start with a dream. You must have a dream in building a nation to be. Without a dream, then there'll be no direction. You'll just be plodding through.
Yeah, and that basically was FVR all about. Philippines 2000.
Philippines 2000. Nations are built out of dreams. That's how I look at it. Just like Mount Everest is built out of a dream. Sailing around is built out of a dream. The same thing, nation building is built out of a dream. And then manned by leaders that go beyond themselves to build a team. Team of skilled, qualified, and committed and passionate people that will craft the means to bring the country forward to the promised land. That is what is needed.
Nagkaroon siya ng close call, ha? You remember that? 19... Yeah, oh, di ba? Did that worry you? I mean...
Wala. We're just we're so deep in our job.
Talaga?
Wala.
Although it was pretty well managed.
Oh, yeah. That's a job of the doctors, but no, they didn't even give us a post, eh.
Kasi a few days later, he was back in action, eh. No?
Wala. Except for some mga comments in the newspapers and columnists about that, the bureaucracy was humming and moving. So I learned that the bureaucracy can move. It can really move, but you need somebody that will act as the baton keeper.
May taga-kumpas.
May nag-kumpas o crack the whip. Okay. No, it's really what is needed. What is needed by the bureaucracy.
So, he bowed out in 98. Did you stay on or hindi na? Ay, stay on ka into the next administration?
I was up until GMA.
Until GMA. Oo nga pala. Yeah. Right.
Hanggang kay GMA ako.
But you were still meeting with him? Did you?
Oh, regularly. No. I met him more often than when he was not president anymore.
Talaga?
Oo. After his presidency, mas madali. Nang presidency siya, wala. Busy and all of that, nakaschedule lahat. He has more time. Now I was very active with RPDEM ever since.
Yeah, nag-trusty ka, no?
No, but I'm one of those mga consultants.
Okay.
I work closely here.
Okay. And yeah, he set up RPDEV to... Pero he set up RPDEV just to work more, eh.
Yeah, more with less people.
So when did you start? 92? 92 ka ba nag-start?
No, late na ako, 94 na ako.
94?
Formally, I was doing other work.
In the private sector?
No, involved in, yeah. I was still also involved, but not so much. But
so 94? Okay. Sunny Garcia pa? Di ba? And then...
Lagdameo.
Amado Lagdameo.
Enrile.
Boy and Arturo Enrile.
Arturo Enrile.
And then
Lichauco.
Josie Lichauco. Makulay ang buhay mo talaga sa...
Ang dami kong pinasukan din, eh. Then si Vicente Rivera, briefly. Then GMA.
Then
GMA, yun.
Sure. Well, ano yung ano? So you see FVR, you continued the connection with him. What are the discussions like? Sana makahanap tayo ng isa pang katulad mo.
I think at the time, FBR also gets updated on what's happening, sharing with him, let's say, us already in the private sector, giving him feedback. He loves to read a lot. You give him an update on what's happening in your particular sector. He loves to learn about that. So, but ako naman, finally, I told him, sir, we're gonna go and climb Mount Everest. So that's the thing that excited him because, you know, FBR always would like to launch himself into something that is not common, beyond the normal. And the thing there is that when I was putting up the Mount Everest expedition, nobody believes me. Because we're from the tropics and then you climb an alpine environment. So no one, and when no one believes you, Toby, nobody will fund you. But when I put it up and launched it, there was this, FBR was there all the time. Kaya natin ito. So I remember yun, when he gave that opening remarks, Sabi niya, itong grupo, ang leader na si Art, may pagkamayabang ito. Ganun ba? But alam ko, kakayanin nila akitin ang Mount Everest. So he lent his personality and his popularity to give credence on what we're doing.
Pero hindi malayo kay FVR yun eh. I mean, he liked breaking barriers.
Kaya natin ito. Kaya nga.
Yeah.
That's why he got so identified with what we're doing. And that he was there when we launched it, and in most of activities that we have, including our departure and welcoming us, he's always been there. And he was quite proud that we're able to accomplish that. Not only we climbed Everest, the women made a world record.
Oh,
yung traverse by women.
yeah.
Oh, yun yung mga...
Yeah.
So, you've noticed may mga picture kami
Yeah.
namin yung nandyan yun.
Yeah.
And that room there is an Everest room. Yung sa gitna. It's called Everest room. Some of our paraphernalias nandun.
Ay, oo nga pala.
Nandun.
What did it feel like to have, I mean, the president, elder statesman?
It gives us some stature when we started, when nobody believes us. Not even my team would believe that the Mount Everest is serious because they have not seen snow. They have not seen snow, but when seeing FVR is there, this must be for real, because FVR will not be around if Art is just concocting a drama. No, so he was there, and
yet he wasn't president anymore.
No, he was not
I mean,
president. I think when we did it when he was president, I may not have a difficulty raising money.
it'd probably be much easier.
Yeah. It would have been okay, but he was not president anymore, and it's tough to raise resources. But
And
he was
yet-
there.
And yet he lent his
Stature.
stature.
Yeah. He was there in the beginning. He was there in the beginning, and when we launched it, March 14, 2004,
2004.
when we launched formally the Mount Everest expedition, he was there, Trackwell. And when we sailed with the Balangay, I remember the ancient boat.
Yeah, again, he was
there. And, he tried to make a comparison that the Balangay is like the ship of state, Pilipinas. We may not be able to agree altogether, but we're in one boat. And only by working together, we'll be able to safely reach the next port. And that's always been his theme, the riding on a ship of state called Pilipinas.
And again, teamwork to get to
Always teamwork.
to where
The
we
Mount
want.
Everest is a product of teamwork. Balangay is a product of teamwork. So, he was able to see something concrete. The symbolism that he was looking for, the Mount Everest and the Balangay fit. That's why he wrote oftentimes in his column about the Mount Everest and the Balangay expeditions.
breaking barriers, reaching heights.
Ganon ang kuha niya.
Tell me, what do you think would be his greatest legacy as president? Well, what do you think? Or as elder statesman?
The way I look at it, if you go back when he took over in 1992 to 1994, the country was suffering with outages.
Power.
And when the country has no power, the economy is not humming normally. The country is not moving normally. It took him almost 2 years to put it together. That in 1994 to 1997, a matter of 3 years, the Philippines suddenly becomes a cub
Tiger.
tiger. 3 years. Can you imagine that in 3 years' time? From, I think, what is our growth rate at that time?
Yeah, we were negative actually when he came in.
Yeah. You look at it. I mean, Toby, for me, that is if you have to look at it, among many other things, he was able to move the country in a span of 3 years. You know, I talk about that in Germany, 1997. The Minister of Economics stayed to listen because we're with the Secretary and really we're trying to invite the Germans to come in here. Of course, because of, if you have to look at it, because of relationship with BR, with the Christian Democrats,
Yeah.
with the whole Helmut Kohl came here, 1996. That's because of, and the Germans really pour in. But going back, no, this is what I told the German audience and businessmen. I said, 2 years, our country was still in the doldrum because of lack of power. We have to just to do what it takes to bring those power there. And in 3 years' time, we become a promising tiger economy. And if not for the Asian crisis, the momentum would have really continued. But in spite of that, we never suffered negative. Thailand was minus 14.
Right.
The same thing, I think, with Korea. Philippines was positive 0.5.
Yes.
I mean, so if you look at it, how did he manage in a span of 3 years to bring us to where we were in 1997? Those things were done by, really, that's leadership and having a team. Drawing the strength of the people. Marshalling the resources around.
Yeah.
And building a team to consolidate resources that we have and the creativeness and move them forward. 3 years. Yun ang real test. Ang 3 years na yan. From the 2 years that he was still trying to put the country on its feet. So in a matter of 3 years, 1997, I think for me that was the real period that we have to look in terms of the impact of the FVR presidency. I don't know, to be. No. If you have to look at, maraming mga nagawa siya eh. But if you have to sum total,
That was the most crucial.
the 3 years, when things were normal, he was able to move. That's what I'm saying, that you'll be able to really galvanize and move this country forward. Because Ramos was able to do that. 95 to 97, 3 years. So.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.